boys and girls, it's Mrs. Gibson. I'm back again, and I am going to do your shared reading lesson on Who Would Win, Polar Bear versus Grizzly Bear by Jerry Pallotta. He does a whole series of these, and they're really good. My son loved them when he was about your all's age. So I hope you enjoy it. After we read it, I've got some questions that I am going to ask you, and they are linked in Google Classroom in assignments. So, Trey, I know you especially will enjoy this book, and I hope that you are outside hitting baseballs every day. So, without further ado, who would win? Polar bear versus grizzly bear. Pay close attention to the animal adaptations in this book. During the Arctic winter, polar bears and grizzly bears live far away from each other. But during the summer months, while looking for food, polar bears and grizzly bears sometimes end up in the same location. What would happen if they met each other? What would happen if they had a fight? Who would win? Scientific name of polar bear: Ursurus martimus. Meet the polar bear. Polar bears are considered sea mammals. They spend most of their time on the frozen sea. They prefer to live near the edge of the ice pack. They are the largest of all bears. Fun fact, there are no polar bears in Antarctica. Remember, polar bears, North Pole, penguins, South Pole. There are no penguins in the Arctic. Scientific name of grizzly bear: Ursurus arctos horribilis. Ooh. Meet the grizzly bear. Grizzly bears are mammals that live on land. You can tell grizzlies by the huge hump at their shoulders. This is a muscle that they use for digging. Did you know there are no grizzly bears in the southern hemisphere? Sorry, black bear, you're not in this book because you're not as big and ferocious as grizzly bears and polar bears. Fun fact, while on a hunting trip, President Teddy Roosevelt refused to shoot an old bear. Newspapers teased him, and from then on, cute stuffed toy bears were called teddy bears. Fun fact, male bears are called boars. Female bears are called sows. Forget about it, giant panda. You're a plant eater, and you're no match for a polar bear or grizzly bear. Polar bears have snow-white fur. Their color allows them to blend in with their environment: snow, slush, and ice. Camouflage, right, guys? Fun fact, polar bears have black skin, white fur. Polar bear names: ice bear, Nanook, white bear, and sea bear. Did you know a polar bear's white fur is actually translucent? And translucent means see-through or clear. Grizzly bears come in 4 different colors: dark brown, reddish brown, brown, and blonde. Fun fact, grizzlies are also called silver tips. These colors allow grizzlies to blend in with their environment. Camouflage, right? Fallen leaves, dirt, rocks, and trees. So they both use camouflage. Ooh, polar bears are 10 feet tall when they stand up. Did you know that polar bears are an apex predator? An apex predator is an animal that has no natural enemies. Interesting fact, polar bears can stand on their hind legs. Polar bears are the largest predatory land animals. Polar bears can grow to be 10 feet tall. Here's a kindergartner next to a polar bear. Ooh. Grizzly bears can also stand on their hind legs. A grizzly bear can stand 8 feet tall. They would tower over you. This person's 5 feet tall. They're about my height, just a little taller. These are big bears. Now, a polar bear paw is larger than this whole book. That's their actual size claw. Did you know a polar bear paw is slightly webbed? It's like an oar, perfect for swimming. There's the front paw print and the back paw print. Remember, if you ever see polar bear footprints, pay attention. Inupiaq people say you never see the one that gets you. This is a grizzly track. A track is a footprint. Their front claws can be 4 inches long. Okay, so we see who has the bigger claw here. The polar bear's taller, but his claws are longer. And there's the front paw track and the back paw track. Humans have nails on their fingers and toes, and bears have claws. Each paw has 5 long, sharp claws. Polar bears are excellent swimmers. They can swim farther than 50 miles in one stretch. Polar bears mostly eat meat from the ocean. Walrus, seals, sea lion, and fish. Seals are their favorite food. Fun fact, polar bears do the dog paddle. Did you know? Yikes, a polar bear can eat a human, but it hardly ever happens because not many polar bears live near people. Grizzly bears are good swimmers, but they prefer standing in a river to catch fish. If a grizzly stands in the right spot, a migrating salmon, they're migrating and they're jumping up the waterfall, they might jump right into his mouth. Interesting fact, grizzlies eat salmon, trouts, apples, berries, honey, and anything they can get their paws on. Grizzlies also have been known to eat moose, elk, caribou, rodents, sheep, grubs, and clams. Not a fun fact. Each year, grizzlies eat a few people. Open wide. Polar bears have carnivore teeth, canine teeth in front, and huge molars in back. Important fact, polar bears can smell a seal through ice 3 feet thick. Fun fact, carnivore means meat eater. Grizzly bears have teeth that are similar to a polar bear's. Grizzlies have such a good sense of smell that they can detect a dead animal 10 miles away. So they both have a really good sense of smell, don't they? A polar bear can run 25 miles per hour. That's faster than a human can run. Polar bears can run down some caribou. So who would win if they had a fight, the polar bear or the grizzly bear? Well, grizzly bears look slow, but don't be fooled. Grizzly bears can easily outrun a human. They are fast. 35 miles an hour. Did you know a grizzly's faster on land and a polar bear is probably faster on ice? Here's a polar bear skeleton. A goofy fact. All polar bears are left-handed. Interesting fact. The sun bear from Asia grows to be only about 5 feet tall, the average height of a human. Like me. Bear skeletons are somewhat similar to a human's. 4 limbs, 5 fingers, 5 toes, backbone, ribs, head, neck, and hips. Here is the complete skeleton of a grizzly bear. Sad fact. The silver bear from Mexico was hunted to extinction. Interesting fact. Scientists have studied bear DNA and think that the polar bear and the grizzly bear are descended from the same animal, both adapted to their environments. Polar bears prefer the sea. Grizzlies prefer to live on land. Only an expert osteologist, a bone scientist, can tell their bones apart. They do look really similar, don't they? Polar bears are solitary animals. They rarely fight each other and mostly stay away from each other. Grizzly bears are also solitary animals, but groups of grizzlies sometimes fish together during salmon migration. That would be really cool to see. Male polar bears do not hibernate. They spend all winter looking for food. They might build a snow cave to sleep away an unusually bad storm. Here's a snow cave, and you see the polar bear mommy and baby. Female polar bears build a maternity den, usually in the snow and ice, to spend the winter and take care of their cubs. This conserves the mom's energy. Did you know hibernating is when an animal goes into a resting state of inactivity with a slower heartbeat, no eating or drinking, and a lower body temperature? You did know that because we learned that. Just before winter, grizzlies eat as much as they can to fatten up for a long sleep. Grizzly bears have a deep winter sleep, but it's not a true hibernation. A grizzly can wake up and suddenly attack you. In springtime, grizzlies are hungry, so watch out. And there's their rock cave. Funny polar bear stories. A U.S. Navy nuclear sub surfaced in the Arctic ice only to find a few polar bears snooping around. Sometimes polar bears take naps in the funniest positions. A famous nature photographer waited for days to get a good polar bear picture. He was eating lunch in his pickup truck one day when he saw a big surprise in his rearview mirror. Funny grizzly bear stories? An Alaskan man came home to find a grizzly bear relaxing in his jacuzzi. A sailor anchored in a harbor in Alaska was awakened by a noise. He he found a grizzly walking around his yacht. Scared out of his wits, he pushed the grizzly off the boat with an oar. Using a cheeseburger, a tourist lured a grizzly bear into his car. The foolish man wanted to get a nice picture of the bear sitting with his wife. The woman screamed, and the confused bear ran away. Oh my goodness. Oh, it's summer. A polar bear steps off the ice onto a beach. A grizzly bear comes out of the woods. They see each other. They can smell each other. Both bears stand to get a better look. Then it happens. The grizzly charges at the polar bear, growling and showing his teeth. The polar bear crouches down, paws up, ready for a battle. Running at full speed, the grizzly knocks over the polar bear. The polar bear gets right back up and he fights back. Whack! He smacks the grizzly in the face. Ouch! They claw, scratch, and bite. It's a nasty fight. They wrestle, trying to get an advantage. Rolling around, both bears get dirty from the sand and the mud. The grizzly is relentless. It keeps on fighting. And suddenly, the polar bear sees no point in fighting anymore. There's no reason to fight to the death, so the polar bear runs away. The grizzly wins, but now he's sore and he's tired and hopes he never runs into a polar bear again. These two bears are so similar, next time the outcome could be quite different. So we learned that in a fight between a polar bear and a grizzly bear, anyone could win. It could be different every time. So none of them are walking around doing this, are they? So I've got a few questions for you. All right. If you can get to the link in Google Classroom, that's great. If you can't, just listen to the questions and answer them the best you can now. So grizzlies are also called what? Ridgebacks, silvertips, or Kodiaks? If you said silvertips, you're right. What color is a polar bear's skin? Is it white, black, or pink? That's right, it's black. How long can a grizzly bear's front claws be? 4 inches, 6 inches, or 12 inches? If you said 4 inches, you're right. In the book, something tells you that polar bears have a good sense of smell. What was that? That they could smell a seal through 3 feet thick ice. Right, very good. Al Griffin's remembering from the story. He's very excited. True or false? Both female and male polar bears hibernate. False, that's right. It said male polar bears do not hibernate. They go look for food all winter. Which hemisphere are there no grizzly bears in? Was it the western, the southern, or the northern? The southern hemisphere. Very good. Now, true or false? All polar bears are left-handed. That was true. Just like a bunch of my students, like Jeremy and I want to say Trey. Definitely a girl too. Can't really remember. But hopefully you can answer those questions in Google Classroom. If not, we just did, so it's not a big deal. Science today, I'm not going to do a video. I just want you to watch a video I'm linking in an email and Google Classroom about animal adaptations. It's the Wild Kratz brothers, and they're super awesome. So I hope you enjoyed the story. I really miss you. Reagan, I hope you're reading and drawing every single day because you're such an amazing artist. I miss you guys, and I will see you next Monday. Bye-bye.